Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to our cozy little corner of the internet. I'm Pen and today I'll be reading chapter 2 of It's Not Love If You Run When It's Hard by Lita Cakes. Just a little trigger warning for this chapter. There was literally one mention of sexual assault, but other than that it's completely fine. Make sure to stay safe and I'll see you guys in the fic. Chapter 2. A couple of weeks later, Izuku was in a much better position than he was when he made his decision. His online excursions looking for anything that might help him prepare for either entering high school or destroying the hero world had led to a few discoveries, and a couple of friends as well. First of which was a girl named Mei Hatsume. She was a mechanical genius. She was truly a daisy, one of the friendliest supporters Izuku had ever met. They spent 3 days talking online before meeting up at a local park where they tested out some of her inventions, tools she lovingly calls her babies. Mei was a mad genius. Izuku adored her for that. She supported his ideals and agreed that there were far too many bigoted heroes in the last few generations that needed to make way for a newer, more open-minded generation. Izuku didn't believe his generation was that open-minded, but they were still young, they could still learn. Izuku would make them learn, by force if necessary. The other friend he made was a guy named Hitoshi Shinso. He had a quirk, but he endured horrible discrimination because he had the power to brainwash and control other people. The recounting of his abuse left Izuku in tears, but the first time they met, Izuku had given him a pin and a metal wristband. The pin was the greater than symbol and a sign of how he supported the Quirkless and viewed them as greater than how the rest of the world viewed them. The band was orange, denoting him as an abuse survivor. In this case, the combination of the pin and the orange band meant that he was a survivor of quirk discrimination and a welcome member of the Quirkless community as a supporter. The three of them became fast friends in just a couple of weeks, and Izuku couldn't have been happier. But they all had entrance exams for high school in a few months after they met. Izuku believed in the back of his mind that the line would be drawn between them, no matter how much Mei reassured him that it wouldn't be. He hadn't told them his full plans yet. Part of the reason why was because if he could get into a hero school, he wouldn't bother with his plans. He would prove them wrong from within. He would become the first and greatest quirkless hero this country had ever seen. But he had accepted for that dream to come true. But he had to be accepted for that dream to come true. And right now, Izuku didn't have any faith that the system would change enough to allow him to accomplish that dream. What do you mean, no? Izuku snapped. They were standing outside of the UA Hero School lawn, right before their physical exams. Hitoshi was beside him with an angry sneer on his face. They'd just finished the written exam, and Izuku was damn sure he aced it. But now, some idiot proctor was telling him that he couldn't take the physical exam. Exactly what I said, kid. No, you can't take the exams, you're registered quirkless. There were harsh murmurs from around them, but Izuku squared his shoulders. He was not backing down so easily, not until they forced him to. This was his last chance, and he wouldn't be refused the option to even try. Why not? It's too dangerous, kid. You will get hurt. We can't take that kind of liability risk. Izuku rolled his eyes. That's bullshit and you know it. Every student has to sign a liability waiver to take the exam, so the hero assumes no liability for any damages, loss of limb, or death in the examinee. So give me the damn paperwork. It's not your problem if I die. It's mine. He grumbled to himself. You'd probably prefer it if I died anyway, but only Hitoshi heard it. The exam proctor cursed under his breath and slapped the paperwork down for Izuku to sign. You have one serious death wish, kid, but fine. Here's Be a fucking hero if you think you can. Izuku snatched the paper and growled at the man's face, making him back down. Where Izuku had gotten this kind of confidence from, he wasn't sure. Maybe it was from his recent success in not only finding friends and support, but also his physical practice. In the 3 months since meeting Mei, she turned Izuku into a bit of a beast. He already had martial arts training, but she drilled him through a nasty regimen of hard labor, weight training, endurance training, and quirkless combat. Hitoshi had joined in as well. Mei was a monster, but she rarely showed her true strength. Now, Izuku had her secrets, and the confidence she had knocked into his head with a wrench, and he felt like he could take on the world, even when his fears were eating him alive. Come on, Zu, he's not worth it. I know. Hitoshi grabbed his own paperwork, and they found a table nearby to sign the forms at. Thankfully, he didn't recognize anyone else there, which meant they had a different exam class to the rest of his middle school, which was probably on purpose to prevent students who knew each other from working together. Hitoshi and Izuku planned to work together without making it too obvious before they got into the exam. I always forget to turn that off if I start early. So that was just my recording alarm to tell me to get up and record. But anyway, do you have any idea how hard this will be? Hitoshi asked. They had been told what the test would be, but not how difficult it might end up becoming. 4 robot types, 1, 2, and 3 pointers in increasing size, but then the 0 pointer. That monstrosity was only supposed to be a roadblock, not worth the points, but Izuku could tell it was a ruse. He just hadn't figured out what kind yet. Izuku shrugged. According to the old forum I found, they recycle the test every 7 years. If that's accurate, which I believe it is given what they've told us so far, the bulk of the exam should be easy. He tapped the front page of the instructions. They provide weapons for non-physical quirks. We'll need to disable the robots. The most points wins. It's that simple. Why do I hear a butt in the back of your throat? But I can't get over the mention of the 0 pointer. Why did they put it there? The basic robots are going to be enough trouble for the majority of the students who have 0 combat training. It's excessive for no real excessive for no real reason. No risk with no reward. It's illogical. So you think there's something to it? Izuku shrugged. I don't know. It just seems, pointless. Well, it is called the 0 pointer. Izuku rolled his eyes and shoved Toshi, the purple-haired teen, smirking and putting his hands up. Come on, let's get ready. Izuku followed his friend back to the table and sat the forms down in front of the still grumbling proctor, who seemed more unhappy to take Izuku's paperwork. Once they were done with, and they were both given number sheets to pin to their shirts, they headed to their assigned training ground. Hey, Hitoshi brushed a hand across the bands on Izuku's wrist. Izuku looked up. You never mentioned what the other colours were, or why you wear the orange one. Izuku had only told Hitoshi about the orange one, that the orange one was quirk discrimination, which didn't make sense on Izuku. He hadn't told him what it meant to a quirkless person. He looked up to the side, sighing deeply. The white counted suicide attempts. They were off to the side, away from the main group of students. The blue is for having saved a lily from suicide, but it's saving a lily from suicide from becoming an orchid. Those are gifted, like your orange band. The red band is earned when your friend becomes an orchid. For me, the red and blue bands are from the same person. Oh, Hitoshi squeezed his hand. I'm sorry. Izuku nodded. The orange worn by Lily is, he cleared his throat. Sexual abuse survivor. I don't talk about that. Hitoshi nodded once firmly. Thank you for telling me what they mean. I won't ask again. Izuku smiled. There are other colours. Maybe one day you'll earn some of them. I can tell you more of the colours I can tell you more of the colours and more of the flowers. I like that, Izuku. Are you kids ready? President Mike's voice startled the whole group of students out of their quiet chatter. Izuku practically jumped out of his skin at the sudden shout. Hitoshi wasn't much better off. There's no countdown in real life. Go! I realise that's more of an All Might voice, but screw it. It's now President Mike's voice. The gates for the training ground opened as the buzzer sounded, and most of the students bolted off ahead of them. Some hesitated, some used their quirks to get ahead, but the bulk of the teenagers started running into the arena, including Hitoshi and Izuku. This was their one shot to becoming heroes, their one shot to fulfill their dreams. Izuku had already received denial letters from the other two hero schools in the country. They denied him even taking the entrance exam because of his registry lock, his quirklessness. But Izuku wouldn't waste his last chance. He sprang into action. As he sprang into action, he grabbed the sealed bow staff from the rack of weapons left by the door. Hitoshi grabbed the matching one and they were off, breaking away from the crowd of students to a fresh area of the training ground. The first few robots they encountered were simple one-pointers. They went down with little more than a smack to the head or the chest with a staff. They swapped taking points, one for Izuku, then one for Hitoshi, and on that went. Eventually, they were getting 2 and 3 pointers. Izuku kept tally in his head. By the time they got down to 3 minutes left on the board, both Izuku and Hitoshi had 60 points. The entrance limit was 75, 15 points. They just needed 15 points each. Of course, it wasn't just about the score for Izuku. He had to make a point. He had to prove to them that he wasn't a weakling. He wasn't useless. Why did the universe insist on proving him wrong? Why did the universe keep insisting on proving him wrong? Izuku! Hitoshi cried. A robot had slipped behind Izuku and smacked the side of his head from behind, leaving him to go sprawling across the ground with blood spurting from a busted lip and cut up gums. Pain spiraled through his face, but it was a familiar sort of pain. He had his cheekbones broken before, even once had it shattered from an orbital bone around his eyes from a nasty quirk-powered punch from Katsuki. This was nothing. Izuku spat out the blood from his lips, forced his body to get to his feet, and shoved the metal pole right through the 3-pointer that hit him. Shoto was interested in very few students this year, but one stood out. Izuku Midoriya. This boy had started the fight with the proctors, and at first, Shoto had assumed it was for their choice of the training ground. He had seen the cocky brats get it in their heads that they knew better than the teachers and the proctors of the exam, or they had an older sister who told them what to expect and how to act. But his registration appeared on the screen from the viewing room. But once his registration appeared on the screen of the viewing room, Shoto realized what the fight was about. Izuku Midoriya was quirkless. The team that he was with, Hitoshi Shinso, had a mental quirk. They were both underdogs without a doubt, but they were both brash, confident, and if Shoto wasn't mistaken, they had the look of old war veterans in their eyes. That look should not no that was a look no child should know how to wear. Their shoulders shouldn't carry that much weight, but he knew all too well what it was like. Shota had endured horrible abuse from his classmates and teachers when he was their age for the simple fact that his quirk was dangerous and villainous. His jaw ground itself like he might shatter his teeth. The memories were too painful sometimes. He had always believed that the world had grown more tolerant, but the looks on their faces made him question that theory. That was something caught his eye when they were preparing for the next round of the practical exams. Nezu. Yes, Shota? Zoom in on Midoriya and Shinso. What are they doing? Nezu pulled up the camera in front of Training Ground Alpha, focused on the two boys he mentioned. They were standing off to the side, talking, similar to everyone else, but something was sparkling in the sunlight around their arms. What was that? Hang on. What's this? Hang on, let me add the sunlight filters. That's the closest you're going to get to my old Nezu voice. Metal bands. They were both wearing metal bracelets in various colours. Shinso had only a thin orange band. Izuku was wearing 5 bands in total. Blue, red, 2 white, and an orange. What were those for? What did they mean? It must be important. The look on Izuku's face when Hitoshi asked him something was devastated, broken. He fingered the orange metal like it was precious. I haven't seen those in years. Nezu's voice pulled Shota's eyes away from the screen. What? Well, when I was your age, those bands were a lot more common. They were used by the Quirkless community as a way to signifying certain things. The colours have different meanings. But Shinso isn't Quirkless. Midnight offered up as she came to stand beside Shota in preparation for the coming exam. That doesn't mean he can't earn them. The Quirkless community is incredibly tight-knit. That community is dwindling with the drop of Quirkless births and the rise in deaths. But they are still more than willing to bring in those who support them. I didn't know they had a whole community. Nezu shrugged. In this fucked up world, who else would give them support but themselves? It's bad out there for them, really bad. Worse than we know, I think. Shota sighed. Worse than we know, I think. Shota sighed. He glanced over to the principal. The Chimera took something out of his vest covertly, but Shota could see it over his shoulder just barely. It was a thin metal band on the chin of on the chain around his neck. He always wondered if that was just a pocket watch. That was what Nezu had always said when Shota was a student, but he'd never once seen the Chimera take it out. Now, sitting there watching these two boys dive headfirst into the throng of students and robots, the old principal seemed almost nostalgic as he ran his paw along the band. But his band wasn't coloured like Izuku or Shinso was wearing. Nezu's band was shimmering gold. What did that mean? Izuku nearly fell forward when the ground shook. He caught himself on the metal staff in his hand, breathless and still spitting blood. Another robot had given him a good shot to the ribs, but again, he had worse. He had so much worse. He didn't care if this exam had left him broken and bloody. He wouldn't be leaving here empty-handed. He wouldn't be denied for his poor performance. No. By his count, they both made the cut and were only down to a minute. But they were down to a minute, and Izuku really wanted to call it quits. But that would be pathetic. He wasn't allowing that kind of idea to blossom in his mind. Find the weakness, break the chain, find the chink in the armor, just like you practice, Izuku told himself over and over. The whole block burst into rubble when the 0-pointer rounded the corner. Fake buildings crumbled, leaving students to flee in fear, screaming their heads off. Izuku instead burst out laughing. Izuku? Hitoshi stumbled backwards. Izuku grabbed his arms. I get it now. He flipped the stuff behind him, holding it still as he stared down the giant robot rolling towards them. What do you get? Because all I get is my life flashing before my eyes. Toshi, what do you think it means to be a hero? Izuku turned to his friend's fear-filled eyes. Being a hero is saving people, even when they don't ask for help, stopping villains even if it ends in your death, protecting the helpless, even if it gets you in trouble, even if it's pointless. Izuku motioned towards the 0-pointer. Hitoshi's eyes widened. Yeah, even then. Izuku smirked. A second later, they were both running towards the 0-pointer at a dead sprint. Izuku was scanning the rubble, searching for anyone who might need help. Toshi was jumping on the rubble, using the staff for mobility as he searched from above. Help! A frail female voice called. Izuku stopped and looked over to Hitoshi. A second later, the other teen pointed and ran down the mountain of rubble towards him, and they were off. The 0-pointer was rolling towards them on tank wheels 10 times or more their size. Izuku would be lying if he said he wasn't shitting his pants scared, but he knew, deep down, that suffering was often just that, suffering. It only made you hurt. It only made you scared and filled you with sorrow. So, you had to do things scared. You had to do it fearful, anxious, and in pain. He pushed himself onwards. Shota was at the control panel, gripping the edges of his hand, gripping the edge hard enough for his knuckles to turn white. Those two students, those idiots, were running towards the 0-pointer, not away from it. In all his years of teaching, and even as a student, he had never once seen anyone run towards the enemy during their entrance exam. But just before that happened, Nezu played the audio capture from their conversation. Izuku, I get it now. What do you get? What do you get? Because all I'm getting is my life flashing before my eyes. Toshi, what do you think it means to be a hero? Being a hero is about saving people, even when they don't ask for help, stopping villains, even if it ends in your death, protecting the helpless, even when it gets you in trouble. Even if it's pointless? Yeah, even then. So they had seen the real point of the 0-point robot. It was a deterrent, a roadblock that they couldn't punch their way through. This was a test of their heroic spirit, and in the last 20 years, Shota hadn't seen anyone even come close to passing it. Nezu, stop this, you're gonna run them over. No, I won't, Shota. No, I won't. Be patient, Shota. I want to see how far these two can go, what they're made of. You gotta crush them. Izuku skidded to a stop beside the brown-haired girl wearing all pink. She was trapped under rubble and looked ready to pass out. She must have exhausted her quirk too. Toshi was right beside him, gathering together as they started pulling the large concrete slab that had fallen on her. She was clawing at the ground in an attempt to pull herself free, but the slab was resting on her legs and she was stuck. Get out of here, you're gonna get killed. Shut up, Izuku growled at the girl. Your life matters too. Besides, they won't kill a bunch of middle schoolers. He winked. Hitoshi was smirking. He might not have faith in the system, but he believed in Izuku, and perhaps it gave Izuku some more confidence. You're crazy, that thing's gonna kill us. Izuku and Hitoshi stared at each other, determination in their eyes. Izuku nodded once. Izuku? Yeah? His mind blanked. Everything went calm and quiet. The world fell away, and all he could hear was the simple instructions Hitoshi gave him. Izuku, use your full strength and lift the rubble with me. So they did. Izuku felt his body let go of his normal limitations. The logical side of his brain, the part that kept you from biting off your own finger like a baby carrot. They grunted as they screamed, and the slab finally lifted. Finally lifted up, over, and crashed on the ground. Izuku's mind snapped into place, and he was moving a second later, free from Hitoshi's quirk. They grabbed the girl under her arms and started limping towards the entrance. But they stopped the moment they got her up. The 0-pointer stopped, and the exam buzzer sounded a second time. All three of them slumped to the ground. Izuku landed on his back, heaving for air. He might be able to surpass his own strength limits with Hitoshi's help, but damn did it fuck with his muscles. Hysterical strength. That's what they decided to call the move. It wasn't conventional by any means, but it worked. It was functional for one bout of strength before it exhausted Izuku too much. They tried in training once before to do it twice, but Izuku had torn his ACL. Blessedly, May's father had a healing quirk, and he was good as new. But they weren't going to try that again anytime soon. You're both psychotic. What the hell? The girl panted. Hitoshi laughed openly. Yeah, just a little. I'm Hitoshi Shinso, and that's Izuku Midoriya. Ochaka Uraraka, I hope you're both in my class. You're my heroes. Izuku had never once in his life been called a hero. Annoyance, deterrent, useless, diseased, fool, stupid, idiot, null, genius freak, all of the words he could attribute to himself, but never hero, no matter how much he wanted it. No matter how much he wished and prayed, he'd never been called a hero before. Something flooded to life in his chest. Maybe he didn't have to swallow the world in a sea of darkness to succeed in life. Maybe he could just do little things like save a sweet girl from a pointless robot. Maybe it would be enough. What the hell? Shota couldn't agree more with Hizashi's statement. The Quirkless kid had allowed himself to be controlled by the brainwasher. No, that wasn't it. They'd practiced this before. They trained with that quirk. Both students were incredibly skilled, strong, and physically fit. Compared to this year's crop, they had the most obvious training, not counting the 6 recommendation students, that is. I was not expecting that. Nezu rubbed at his chin. Something in the way he said it told Shota that the Chimera wasn't talking about their teamwork. It seems that with the rescue points, they both landed themselves in the top 5. Isn't that interesting? It was, incredibly so. No Quirkless student had passed their physical exam before. Actually, Izuku was the first Quirkless student to even apply in the last decade. Was the first to pass a physical exam at least in the last 20. Oh, and Shota? Yeah. Nezu handed him a tablet with the written score exams on it. The boy has the highest written exam in the last 20 years. He beat Endeavor's score and yours. What? I'm putting him with you. Both of them, actually. I'd like to give Midori some more testing. No one has seen through this exam before. I want to see how that boy thinks. That wouldn't bode well for Midoriya. Nezu was notorious in his harsh teaching methods and rather impractical exam style. Like this wild test that just about ripped Shota's heart out of his chest as he watched 3 students nearly get shattered by a giant robot. If Nezu was interested in this quirkless kid, Shota would do his best to keep Midoriya from becoming the world's next supervillain. because if Nezu thought he was interesting enough to dissect, there was a very real chance this boy could bring society to its knees. A shiver of fear ran down his spine. Schroeder checked the tablet, and sure enough, Izuku Midoriya scored an almost perfect 97%. The next highest in the last 2 decades was Schroeder's score of 92%, followed by Endeavor's at 91%. This kid had not only beaten their scores, but he shattered them. He only missed one question. The question he missed: who was your favourite hero and why? It wasn't even a real question. It was meant to be an evaluation tool. 3 points as extra credit almost. 3 points as extra credit almost. It was a window into the child's psyche, but Izuku's answer was simple: I don't have a hero anymore. He technically failed the question, so the proctor wrote it off, despite the question being an open-ended extra credit. What did the world do to this child? What had the world done to Izuku Midoriya that allowed him to walk off the beating he received in the exam and stare down a monster that could easily kill him, like it all meant nothing, like he had endured worse? Schroeder shivered. Maybe he had endured worse. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that chapter. That was chapter 2 of It's Not Love If You Run When It's Hard by Lita Cakes. If you hear a couple of choppiness in there, that's because my cat wanted to keep coming in and out of my room, and it was a pain in the ass. But I had to let her in and out if I didn't want her to keep scratching ridiculously. But anyway, so yeah, I had to stop the recording a few times, so that's why. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you stayed safe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!